Rightly so. Hopefully you enjoy that, Giant fans. You got a little bit of a season. You got a little bit of a season here. Not as much as you think. Not as much as you think.
Wait a minute. You're raining on the Giants parade?
Well, no.
Hater.
It needs to be put in the proper perspective. Now, listen, you celebrate wins in the NFL. You do it. I'm not trying to be that guy. But the Commander, and I've been on the air saying, this team's sneaky good. Commanders stink. They are much more. I mean, I misread them from a mile away. So if the Giants didn't win yesterday, if they didn't win, I will be fair, there'd be nothing to talk about. I mean, how ugly was it? What happened?
Well, we've been talking about the questioning Dable, as I said on Friday, right? I mean, if they lose that game to that team at home, we'd be questioning everything about the organization.
Yes, and we wouldn't be piecing together the prospects of this little run that Sal's been telling me they're about to embark on for a while, which I just completely don't see. Again, Giants ready to play. Taylor did some good things. Saquon had some moments. You had some things you needed to see. The stadium looked great. The uniforms are absolutely dope. I love the way everything looked visually. But the Giants, to me, are still one of the worst teams in football.
Yeah, see, I can't go that far. Now, look, was it pretty yesterday? Absolutely not. And as Dable said, they left some stuff on the field, which is never good. They should have stomped the Washington football team, and yet we're sitting there holding our breath. At least I was. Hang on for dear life. Just get a win and give it next week, for goodness sake. But they did win the game. And look, Washington, and they're bad. I mean, I've been telling you about Washington. I know Sam Howell can, he can throw the football. I think he's going to be a player. You question everything else about the team. They'll have a new coach probably next year and maybe a new staff. You can't throw the ball 45 times in a 14-7 game. Like, what do you do? Run the football, dude. Run the football. Have a little balance. You got some players, too. Run it. Robbins is a good runner.
Yep.
Anyway, the Giants did enough to win the football game, and it was ugly. But all things considered, still not healthy up front, still with the backup quarterback. You take the win and you move on. And they kind of stabilized the season Sunday night against Buffalo. It started with that in a competitive game. We'll get into Buffalo and how bad they've looked a little bit later on as well. But the Giants stabilized Sunday night. They were 15.5-point underdogs, and they were in the game. And then yesterday, they went out there and won a football game at home against a team that I believe they're better than. And that's saying something, because we talked about this team. If they didn't win that game, we're talking about 1-2-win team, one of the worst teams in the league. I don't believe the Giants are one of the worst teams in football.
See, to me, it just doesn't change anything for me. And to be fair, I did think the Commanders would win. I picked them on the air. I'll take the L there. But I look at the Giants and how yesterday went down. Like, think about what we're lauding. And I know that you need to start somewhere, and I'm not trying to be dismissive. Again, a win is a win. Honestly, a win is a win. And if the Giants didn't get it, it would absolutely be curtains. Like, first, second, third pick, they're done. Don't even waste time. Just, lead up to the Jets game and see what happens. But nothing positive would be able to be unpacked from the Giants if they would have lost yesterday. But I still look at that game, and I'm like, all right, so for now the last 6, 7, 8 days, we've lauded the effort in Buffalo where they barely scored because they played a competitive game against a team that's not nearly as good as some people thought that they were, Sal. And then they win yesterday against a team that's terrible, and the Giants tried to give the game away. Like, if the Commanders weren't so inept, the Giants lose.
Well, I mean, but the Commanders are. That's part of picking the Giants at home to win that game, knowing that they're better coached. They should be a better team, even with the offensive line being banged up, even without their starting quarterback. Look, Barkley back has made a difference, throwing the football down the field with Tyrod Taylor in there. Hyatt made some plays. Obviously, Waller got involved. It was all about the defense, and I think that's maybe more. Now, look, Wink has done a good job here a couple weeks in a row.
Yep.
So you start to feel the defense coming around a little bit, but it's also about the ineptitude of the Washington football team and their offensive line and play calling and scheming and all that stuff. So the Giants' defense carried their way, too. I mean, the offense, you score 14 points in the first half. You got to figure out a way to put more on the board. And they didn't, and they were lucky that they held on. Was it the prettiest of wins? No, but it did, to me, at least stabilize. Like, who do you think's better, Washington or the Giants right now?
I still think it's really I think Washington's still slightly better.
Dude, come on. The Giants are playing with that backup quarterback.
They had some injuries, too. I do. Slightly.
The backup quarterback, offensive line. I mean, Giants are better coached. What are you saying? Washington's more talented? They have better
slightly more talent.
Players?
Yeah, slightly more talent.
How'd that work out yesterday?
They lost.
No, right, but they're 3-4 on the year. Washington Giants are right there with them at 2-5. And to further the point, this was something I looked at after the Sunday night game. thinking that the Giants had a stretch here of 3 games where they can get back on track this season. I still think that's the case. It was ugly yesterday.
Yeah.
Was I discouraged to a certain extent? Yeah, I was, because Thibodeau stinks. I'm tired of him running his mouth.
He's just not very fast.
Dude, I told you.
He's not explosive.
And he's not a big physical presence
No.
either. What does he do? He runs his mouth. He dresses
What does
nicely
he
and he
do?
runs his mouth. Pick the ball off, you knucklehead. It's right there.
How do you drop that ball?
Dude, you
How
joke
do you
around
drop
and say,
that?
Sal, you're running your mouth saying you can make that play. I could have caught that ball. Make the play. For a guy that's a top pick that talks as much as he does, between some of the other stuff that the Giants do, missing the field goal, just bad offense at times, it was not encouraging, a clean, dominant performance. But I think something to grow from, and I think they'll get better, and I think they have a chance to win this coming week against your Jets.
Oh, this is going to be a fun week here,
Yeah.
boy. Jets-Giants, obviously, we'll start getting that deeper as we get into the week here. All right, BT and Sal on the Fan, 877-337-6666. I don't think it changes anything about the Giants season. Now, you win next week, that's a little different. I don't think that they will, but I also didn't think that they'd win yesterday. I didn't think they'd win yesterday. Hey, we're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. We're friends at Town Fair. Reminds you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. So, Giant fans, of course it beats losing, obviously. But can you really? And if you can, I'd love to hear. I don't agree. I would love to hear from you who now feel as if, okay, this team's here and that team's there, and you get to hear and wild card. We're not actually having that conversation today, are we?
No, I'm not, I don't look at this team as a playoff team. I mean, come on. Even with that. No, but remember what we're talking about. We're talking about worst team in the league, talking about top pick. I don't think they're that bad because I believed in Brian Daboll. If they lost that game yesterday, and it was a lot closer than I would like to have been, if they lost that game yesterday, I am coming on today and just ripping them to shreds from top to bottom of the embarrassment that it would have been to lose to that crappy Commanders team. That's not the case. I believe they can beat the Jets. I believe they can beat Vegas after that. Will they? Who the hell knows? And by the way, we got to find out what's going on with the quarterback. So that's a big part of it too. But it was an important win. Forget about just this year, stabilizing this year or potentially saving the season, because I don't look at it that way. But I do think big picture, Barkley being traded, Daboll coming into question, all of the above. At least the Giants showed you for a day that, hey, they can win a game at home.
I'm going to get these calls here, I promise. But you look at Barkley, right? To me, this is where I'm really conflicted with the Giants. And I didn't pick them to lose because I want the Giants to lose. I actually want this Jets-Giants game to have as much juice as possible. Yeah, it's going to complicate my world if my team doesn't show up off the bye ready to go, which historically the Jets often do not. But I look at this big picture, right? Because I think there's too many elements of potential fool's gold for this Giants team now. Giants are going nowhere this year. All right, in my opinion, I think in the opinion of many. So the stories over the weekend, the Giants are not going to trade Saquon. And listen, I'm not going to be the guy who just starts the Barkley Express out of town because he's the most amazing talent on the entire team. But I got a couple questions for you, right? Number one, do you think the Giants give him a long-term deal? The answer is no. Number two, do you think the Giants tag him back-to-back years, which would then be 120% of his salary this year? The answer is no. So if you're not good this year, and they're not, and if you're not going to do one of the two things I just threw out there with Barkley, why would you not trade him? So in a weird way, this loss, God, I hate being this guy, but it's just what I see with the Giants. This win, in a weird way, kind of complicates the direction and the path that they should take.
Yeah, see, I don't see it that way. I think you got to look at it now and in the short term. And with Barkley, the value of getting a third or fourth round pick, whatever they get, to me, it's not as good as keeping him here, trying to stabilize your season, go out there and win games and build and move forward and have him be a part of your team moving forward.
All right, this is going to be a fun week. Corey, first up, let's have a good one to start the show. He's in Massapequa Park. What's up, Corey?
Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
What's up, Corey?
Hey, man, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. I just wanted to comment on being a Giants fan. I think the biggest thing that set our season up, and I haven't really heard it talked yet, was Week 1 against Dallas. Our first drive, there was that late hit on Daniel Jones, and none of our players kind of did anything. And I really think that set the tone for that first quarter of the season. What I'm noticing yesterday, and you saw it in the second half against the Bills, is that the guys are playing. They're playing pissed off. They're playing pissed off, but they're also still bought in. So bring it full circle to this season. Do I think we're playoffs? I mean, I hope so. You know, I wish. I'm not saying that's the case. But really our goal ever since Joe Shane came in was really 2024, right? That's the year we have some contracts that are expiring, 1-year contracts, some young guys that are going to get the reps. So how I look at yesterday, did it save our season in a way? Yes. But it's also a continuation of the attitude that you need to have, that you got to be, you can't be reckless. And I think we're starting to see the G-men do that.
Yeah.
And that only carries over to the back half of this year and into next year.
That's a good point, Corey. Honestly, I'm going to give you – I like that one because it's – we get so wrapped up, obviously, in the wins and the losses. That's what we really look at. But that's a smart way to look at the ultimate direction of the Giants. Like, all right, overachieved a little bit last year. Amazing, 9 wins. Everybody pumped up. You got the coach. Maybe you think you finally have the quarterback. You win a road playoff game. Everybody's juiced up. Some people are a little bit too juiced up in terms of their expectations for the year. But we understood the juice. And if all of the juice was sucked out of the season and it's 2-15 and they're not even competitive, then honestly, everything that happened last year is completely gone.
Right. You can't go that far backwards.
Yes.
You can have a setback as far as the results, meaning how far you went. I don't think anybody, even me, who was as high on the Giants as anybody coming in this year, I never thought they would get back to the divisional round.
No,
I thought they'd be better. I thought they'd close the gap, be more competitive against Philadelphia or Dallas, be a playoff team for sure. I never thought, it's hard to get to the divisional round. However, that's a big difference from them being potentially one of the worst teams in the NFL. And now, with this win, with the way that they've played, just looking at the landscape of a BT in the NFC, Giants are not going to be a playoff team, but they might be 8th, 9th best team in the NFC.
Do you think, though, ultimately that's a good thing here? Because then we'll get to the Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor stuff. I mean, one is based on how Tyrod Taylor, and we'll get to this a little bit, but how Tyrod looks better. The other part is, there's a second neck injury for Jones in 3 years here. So if the Giants squeeze out, 7-8 wins, which would be, in my opinion, 2 more than I think they're really capable, all due respect, that really challenges their ability to get a quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, you find ways.
I know you don't.
Well, you find ways to do it, whether you trade up. I mean, other teams before have traded up out of wherever they're going to be. I can't worry about that now.
They got 6 draft picks. They don't really have the equity to jump up. They got 6.
You figure it out, and if it's not this year, maybe it's next year. I can't. So then essentially you're saying you want a tank.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
Or you think they'd be better off.
There's 2 aspects. The guys in the locker room and the organization who's not going to embrace tanking, and me.
I don't mean tank like
who's
everybody.
Not emotional. I know. And not emotional, but looking at the best interest for the Giants while not, honestly, being intimately impacted by losses this year.
Right, but as a Giant
so I'm not a fan,
Giant fans want to win. I mean, I'm sure there are always some sections of fan bases that, well, we're not going anywhere to Super Bowl anyway. Let's suck, tank, get the best quarterback. I understand that's one way to do it. You could also do it another way. And and we talked about this last week, where you can learn while you're winning. And if the Giants are still building up, right, they're not anywhere close to where they want to be ultimately to have sustained success. But they're still learning. They're still developing. You're still seeing some players. Banks, I thought, played a hell of a game yesterday.
I like him. We've always liked him. He's good.
So, look ahead to potentially what these guys could be on defense. Dexter Lawrence flexing his muscle. And Williams, you saw the defense, what that could be. You saw Hyatt make some plays. So, as they're, learning and developing a little bit, it's nice to win some games as well. I think that goes a long way.
877-337-6666. It's a Victory Monday. Giants, BT and Sal on the Fan. Matty's on Staten Island. Matt, what's happening, buddy?
What's up, guys?
Hey, Matt.
Fan. So with the Giants' next couple games, I think they could go on a run here. I really do. Every team they play in the next 7 games or 6 games, I believe, has a below 500 record except the Jets.
Yeah,
I'm a Giants fan, so
well,
I think they could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you think that they could do it. The problem is the win streak's going to end at 1 because you're not beating the Jets. And then the conversation changes.
I think we could beat the Jets. If our defense plays as good as it did, I believe, the last 2 games, then I think we could expose Zach Wilson. I think it just depends on which Zach Wilson we're going to get.
Well, you're going to get the Zach Wilson that you've seen all year, a guy who's learned to protect the football.
And one who better be
Why
able
would
to
that
hand it
change?
off because his wink's going to be coming for his ass.
That's
Ooh,
okay.
Baby, here we go,
That's
BT.
okay.
It didn't take long.
Nor should it. Hey, listen, I mean, the Commanders-Giants, cute little side story. Let's get to the main piece of the steak here. Let's go.
Hey, it is a winnable game for both teams. Now, it might be 5-0 at the end of it, but it's a winnable game for both teams.
Let's get Anthony in Northport, BT and Sal. And what's happening?
How you doing, guys?
What's up,
Hello.
man?
I had two things that I wanted to bring up here. One, the Giants line is better without Neal in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, hard to argue.
Look
you
better.
put a warm body out there that could actually put his body on somebody else's. I mean, Neal
Philip
wasn't doing that enough.
blocked somebody yesterday, which is fun.
What happened?
And two, I don't know if you guys noticed watching the game, but Thibodeau doesn't seem to celebrate anything with his teammates. He's always about himself.
Huh. I didn't really
I
notice.
see Dexter, I see Williams celebrating with each other after a sack.
Yep.
Don't see Thibodeau doing anything with that.
Did Thibodeau get a
Notice
sack
that.
yesterday?
He got a half. Early on, he was in on one.
He got a half. He fell on him after.
Yeah, he did.
Dexter.
Exactly.
He fell, you're
Yeah.
right. He basically
that's
tripped on the
appropriate.
guy.
Half
Ow.
a sack. That's
Yeah.
appropriate.
Oh, come
For
on.
Thibodeau. What?
So you're going to say he's a half a sack on the sackometer? Is that what you're saying?
Barely. And they,
Oh, jeez.
I mean, barely, dude.
She's a half
in
a
the
nut.
game where they get 45 sacks, Kayvon Thibodeau's known for dropping his short pick six. He stinks, dude. I can't stand guys. First of all, I don't like his like. There's nothing about his game that jumps out to me.
I agree with that.
His body looks awkward. He's not fast. He's not like Dexter. And I know they play different positions, but Dexter Lawrence is a physical presence, right?
He's a
Leonard
freak.
Williams, same thing, right? Physical presence. By the way, they're quick inside. They can get to the quarterback. So Thibodeau like stands tall, but he doesn't do anything with his size, and he's not fast enough to be a pass rusher.
He's not quick twitch.
What does he do? He runs his mouth and he dresses nicely. A game where the defense is feasting. Kayvon Thibodeau can't even make a pick six that was tailor-made.
I mean, the one thing I will say, are we maybe overstating how he runs his mouth? I mean, it's not like he doesn't say anything that bad. Let's be fair to the kid.
Well,
he might not be that good.
I
don't know if he runs his mouth that much.
Well, I wouldn't say he runs his mouth to a negative degree, but he's known for that big personality, which is fine, and the dressing and the talking.
Yeah.
But you got to do something. Like, we don't care about your personality here if you don't give results on the field, right? Like,
That is true. No, that's absolutely true. No
I'm
doubt.
all for
no
a good
doubt.
personality. That's great.
Yeah.
You got to do something.
Got to back it up, Sal. All right. 877-337-6666. So, again, really good win. Could have gone the other way. It didn't. We don't live in a world of could-haves or what. It didn't. Giants won the game. What does it mean for the rest of their season in terms of the standings? In my opinion, not much. I think, some of you, maybe it's born out of hope. Maybe some of it's derived from what you actually see on the field. Maybe it's a combination of the two. They're inferior in too many spots. They are. It's not a knock. I've been saying that all year. But I do want to give props after a win. I just don't see this, like mushrooming into something sustainable because it ends against the Jets.